Just test my audio now. Can y'all hear me? All right, if y'all can't hear me, I might have to restart the audio. Not on IG. Oh, there we go. There we go. Can y'all hear me? There we go. All right, so good. What's up? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. The Ash Cash Show every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. To 9 a.m. And this is my goal, just to give y'all the news that is going on every day from our perspective. And all right, cool. So let me just jump into the news. So this is what we're gonna do. All right, Sean, what up, Sean? Thank you, brother. Peace, appreciate you. I had to do some I had to move some things around because I'm using a new mic today. If you, you can see on Facebook. I got the Ash Cash Show mic stand, the mic, and all that. Every week we're gonna make it better and better. That is the goal. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So the goal is to make it better and better. Vaughn Franklin, what's up, Vaughn? Welcome. Tatum Booth, what up, Tatum? Felicia, hi, Felicia. I like to say that. What up, Felicia? Thank you for joining. And let's talk about some things today. And so a couple of things I want to talk about today. I do want to talk about verses, and so we talk about verses because I was reading a story about how Jill Scott and Erykah Badu had 1 billion impressions on their battle, and how I think she was getting flack, and we could start there, right? So Erykah Badu, I believe during the live, and I'm not even gonna sit here and lie to you. So normally I do watch the versus battles. So if anybody doesn't know what the versus battles are, Timbaland and Swizz Beatz started this versus battle where they get two comparable artists, producers, songwriters, and they go against each other, right? And so some of the best ones, or some of the ones that we know, obviously T Pain. Who did T Pain go against? Lil Jon. So T Pain versus Lil Jon, Swizz Beatz versus Timbaland, Neo versus Jonte Austin. You had, the infamous Teddy Riley versus Babyface. And so now we had Jill Scott versus Erykah Badu. And so, I'll be honest, I didn't really watch the whole thing. I listened to it in the background, but I didn't really watch the whole thing because I'm a fan of both. But you just gotta be in the mood to, like, it's a whole vibe. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta be in the mood to kind of feel that vibe. And for me personally, versus to me, when I was watching the earlier ones, I felt like it was the talking, right? The talking ish that made it dope for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, as people are, talking their ish, in a nice, friendly way though too. So it's not even like, it wasn't even done disrespectful or anything like that. It was done in a nice way. And that's what made it fun for me. And I just felt like it was a lot of kumbaya, as you would think, right? Because both Jill Scott and Erykah Badu on a different level, spiritually, and from a soul perspective, and that's why I listen to their music, because there is there's certain vibes, right? So like the Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, like India.Arie, like you'll get certain vibes from them, but. I saw Swizz Beatz post that they had 1 billion impressions, which means that I think they had 600,000 people live, right? And 600,000 people live, and there was this I don't know, it was discussion that was happening about the culture, about owning the culture, and that the fact that this is one of those situations where for a long time, we've been meaning black and brown people, have been the ones in charge of the culture. But for whatever reasons, we've never been the ones who monetize off of the culture, meaning the people who are bringing the culture to the forefront aren't the ones, necessarily benefiting the most. So Mr. Eastman said it went up to 776. So that's a lot, right? And so do the math, right? Somebody do the math. If imagine, right? And so this was free, right? And so Erykah Badu had some flack online because during a live she was saying she was unemployed, right? And I don't think people really liked the fact that she said that hey, I'm unemployed, right? But the truth of the matter is that if her bulk of her money comes from her being out and about, right? Her performing and making money from ticket sales. If this pandemic has stopped live events, then how is she really gonna eat, right? Like, how is she really gonna make money? And so think about this for a second, right? So we just saw a confirmation that it went up to 776,000 people were watching. I'm sure with everybody being home and no other alternative way to experience sort of like a live concert of sorts, imagine if everybody paid $5 to access this platform or access this battle, right? And in a way that wasn't what Teddy Riley was doing. I know that in the beginning, he was trying to simulcast, like he was trying to, have his live on one feed, but then people go to his website and watch the battle on another feed to try to monetize on his intellectual property, which is nothing wrong with that, right? But I also think, from a perspective of even the way the versus battle is currently, imagine if everybody paid $5 to access, this battle, and I know, Swizz and Timbaland have made it a point to say that this is for the culture, it's not about monetization, because I guess that they've had a lot of interest, they've had a lot of interest. They've had a lot of people coming to them, asking them about about being a sponsor for the versus battles, and so it's like a double-edged sword almost. It's like, it's true, right? Like if can somebody do the math? 776,000 times 5, right? Like if everybody paid $5, and let's not even say everybody paid $5. Let's just say half of the people, right? Let's say half of the people were on there because they were half of the people were on there because they felt like it was free, right? So let's say 776,000 divided by 2, right? I'll say half of the people didn't even think like, you know what, I'm not paying for this. But half of the people were like, I'll be glad to pay $5. That's literally $1.9 million. You know what I'm saying? And so when I think about potential, right? And I don't know what the future holds for the versus battles, but when you think about the potential of income that it could bring, it could really help subsidize some of these artists, livelihood, if that's how they live, right? And that's how they eat. So I thought it was very interesting, and that's why I brought it up. I believe that Swizz Beatz has announced that the next battle is going to be Nelly and Ludacris, which I'm actually looking forward to, because both of them, it's about personality for me. So both of them have dope, and not saying Jill Scott and Erykah Badu don't have a good personality, but like Nelly and Ludacris, like I can see the ish talking is gonna be good in a respectful way, because they homies, you know what I'm saying, in a respectful way, but they both got hits, you know what I'm saying. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not sure if the date was dropped yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to that. In other news, I found this very interesting, and so Warren Buffett is somebody who people look to very much so because of his experience in investing, being one of the top richest people in the world, but really having sound advice, and so I saw this article, which was very, very good because me, it's all about mindset. For me, at the end of the day, right? How can you change your mind to manage your money better, right? And so it's all about it's all about mindset. And so there was an article in Inc. magazine where Warren Buffett, in 4 steps, he provides a powerful mental habit for achieving success, right? So he gives 4 steps or 4 things that you can do in order to make it a habit to manage success. And I wanted to share those with you because I think they were very important. Number 1, Warren Buffett says to assess all possible outcomes. And so many people experience fear of failure because they fear the unknown. Remove that fear by considering all the potential outcomes of your decision. So I like that because when you start thinking about success, you have to make sure that you're looking at all outcomes, because for whatever reasons, and this is for your finances, this is for business, for whatever reasons, I know the reason. Let me not say for whatever reasons, but a lot of times when people are going through things, the brain is actually wired to think about sort of like the worst case scenario. And so the brain is wired to think about what could go wrong. Because we don't want these things to happen. And so because we don't want these things to happen, it's easy to focus on what could go wrong and not necessarily focus on what could go right. And so, I think the importance of assessing all possible outcomes is good, because what happens is that when you assess all possible outcomes, you're looking at the bad things that can happen, but then you're looking at the good things that can happen. And then it allows your brain to really focus on what's possible, and probable. And so I think that was a good number 1. Then number 2, it's think in the positive, right? And so he says positive thinking is an incredible, powerful way to build confidence and stop self-sabotage. And so, when you think about self-confidence, self-sabotage, a lot of times people have good things working for them, but for whatever reasons, again, not for whatever reasons, the brain is wired to, sometimes if you don't train it the right way, the brain in the majority is geared towards looking at what's negative. And so it's important that people start focusing on the positive, staying in the light. I'll give you an example. I was talking to my wife about this over the weekend, and it's funny that a lot of the coronavirus deaths that have happened due to this pandemic, if the mind and the will was stronger, I wonder if the amount of deaths that we've had would have still happened. So I'll give you an example, like the flu, right? They talk about the flu, the flu is also contagious. The flu also kills a lot of people. The flu also, new strands are built each year. And so because of the strands and things of that nature, people die from the flu. But what happens is that because there isn't this fear associated with the flu, there are a lot of people who don't die from the flu, right? And so the reason why I say that is because, as my wife and I were talking, we were talking about sort of like pandemics, and we were talking about placebo effects, right? So anytime scientists, doctors, medicine, they test a new medicine or vaccine or whatever, they always have to have 2 control groups. They have to have one group that is taking the medicine, but then they also have another group that they give a placebo to. And what a placebo means is that they give them a sugar pill or something that does not have any effect on their healing process, but they think it does, right? And then they see, what percentage of people survive based on the medicine, and then what people survive based on the placebo. Well, if scientists did not know that the mind was powerful, they wouldn't give placebo. And do people recover from illnesses using placebo? Absolutely, right? Which means that a lot of times it's the power of the mind that heals. I want to say more times than not. I'm not saying that medicine is not important. It doesn't play a factor. But in cases of having strong will, like we've seen quote unquote medical miracles, right? Like we've seen medical miracles where people, were, you thought they weren't going to make it, but somehow through will, through determination, they were able to make it through. And that's through positive thinking. That's through that placebo effect. And so that's why thinking positive is not just something that's like, oh, this is, think positive, you'll be all right. Like, this is literally something that can save your life, save your money, save your business. And so, I love that Warren Buffett, his number 2 is think positive. His number 3, right? So Warren Buffett came out earlier with, 4 powerful mental habits to achieve success. And so this is success in, anything that you want, right? So success in life, success in business, success in relationships, right? Number 3 is to reevaluate your worst case scenario. And he says it's human of us to look at the worst case scenario as a disaster in the making, but is it? Your worst case scenario may actually not be that bad. So perspective and of other people really matter to reframe your situation. And so even there's a book by Dale Carnegie that is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that's one of the things that they talk about, right? Like, accept the worst, right? And so he's saying reevaluate your worst case scenario, which is similar to what Dale Carnegie was saying. And so what he's saying is this, is like, if you accept the worst case scenario in whatever situation that you want, at the end of the day, you'll realize that the worst isn't that bad, like for instance, let's think about the economy. Let's think about COVID-19. Let's think about all these things that are happening. The worst case scenario that can happen is that someone, or people lose their jobs, they lose everything, and then now they have to start from scratch. And so we might be like, man, that's horrible, right? But at the end of the day, I feel like in the positions that we're in, if you lose it all, there is still an opportunity, right? We still live in a strong nation. We still have a strong economy. We still have the ability to, businesses are still thriving. It's not one of those situations where everybody's suffering, right? Like, there are people still making money. There are people who are going to stimulate the economy as their businesses grow. And that's something you have to look at. A lot of these businesses that may be in a position where they are growing, a lot of those businesses may, or as they grow, they're going to need employees. And so it sort of looks like a wealth transfer or a transfer of resources, where there are people who are, trying to figure things out. And there's a lot of them, right? Because I think the last numbers was like 33 million people who lost jobs. But then there's companies that have 15 employees who are now seeing a skyrocket. And what happens when the demand starts to increase? They're going to start to need to hire. And so what I'm saying is that the worst case scenario, you lose everything and have to restart. But maybe restarting is not bad. Maybe restarting is what you need. I'll tell you, sort of like for me, when I talked about Erykah Badu and Jill Scott earlier, how Erykah Badu was like the majority of her money was coming from tours and traveling. Well, I speak for a living, right? And so as a speaker who speaks for a living, I was hit by the coronavirus as well, by the pandemic as well, because now I can't go out and speak. And I took pride into being able to rock crowds. Like, if you've ever seen me live, like my energy is something different. And I bought something, I won't say something new, because Les Brown is my speaking mentor, and I remember watching Les Brown and saying, yes, that's the type of energy that I have, and I want to not mimic Les Brown, but that's my mentor. And so if you've ever experienced me live, like, I get the crowd rocking, as it relates to being able to speak. And so seeing me on computer is different. But I had to make a pivot. I had to figure out my business model. And so now I had to say to myself, how do I pivot? How do I change my business model? So I looked at the worst case scenario. I said, yo, what if my savings depletes? What if I got to sell off some assets to bring cash flow in? Okay. Worst case scenario. And at the end of the day, even if I had to, redo my lifestyle, my family's lifestyle, we have to, figure things out temporarily. I mean, I'm a hustler. I know how to get it. I'm a smart guy. I don't think that, that situation will happen for that long. And so, I'm saying that, in everything you do, just look at the worst case scenario and accept it. Accept the worst, right? Accept the worst case scenario. But then move forward, right? Like, do not, look at the worst case scenario and accept it and say, okay, this is what it is, but just be okay with it. And here's why too, from a philosophical perspective as well, is that, you get what you feel. Right? Like, you will always get what you feel. Like, if you feel hopeless, then hopeless situations are going to happen. If you feel empowered, then empowered situations are going to happen. That's just what it is, right? And so for me, I feel like when you accept the worst and you be like, yo, this is the worst that can happen, I bet. And you accept that, but not be fearful of it, right? Because if you are fearful of it, you know what I mean? What you reject will project, right? If you like, nah, this ain't whatever, like, that's the energy you're putting towards it. If you're putting energy towards, oh my God, like I fear this, I hope this doesn't happen, this is the worst thing, I can't let this happen, then a lot of times that's what actually happens, because life is energy. Life doesn't life does not recognize negative or positive. Life just knows what you're putting your attention to. So where your attention goes, what was it? Where energy flows, attention goes. Oh no, where attention goes, energy flows. And so life is energy, right? And so if you are putting the energy like, oh my God, I might lose my job. Oh my God, you like that worry that you potentially can be giving yourself during this time. You could be calling that stuff to you. You might have not been in jeopardy at all, but because you're giving energy to these things, that's what you start attracting. And so when you accept the worst, when you like, yo, you know what? Yo, I know how to get it from the mud. I bet. Worst case scenario, I bet. Now I'ma go. That changes things. And I mean, honestly, like, even for me, when I realized that, I was like, all right, you know what? Boom. Speaking income is gone for now. All right, how can I pivot? And so now people started coming to me. People started hitting me up. Corporations started hitting me up for online trainings, and my book sales is going up, and people are joining my online academy more, right? And so because I'm giving more attention to my online stuff now, and so because I'm giving more attention to that, I'm starting to see income come in. You know what I'm saying? And that's because that's where I'm putting my attention. I accepted it. I was like, yo, worst case scenario, I don't know how this thing is gonna look. Worst case scenario, I may have to liquidate some stuff. I may have to fall back a little bit, but at the end of the day, all right, let me go in this direction. And the good thing too is that because I've accepted the worst, I ain't worried about that. I'm not even thinking about it no more. And so now all of my energy and my power is being focused on what can I do, right? Online stuff. And then I'm at, I'll tell you now, like, even when I think about all the lives that have been lost unexpectedly, right? I said to myself, well, why a majority of us we don't have life insurance, And so that's like a perfect sort of business, something that I wanted to do. I'm saying, you know what, like I was, I had my licenses before, I sold life insurance and annuities and things of that nature. But I said, listen, from a perspective of helping people out, well, I need to be in the life insurance business, And so, my wife has a life insurance license that she uses. And so I'm like, well, why can't we come together where I provide, knowledge as it relates to life insurance, help people build legacies, right? Because life insurance is a product that builds legacy, and come together and build that business, right? And so that's a pivot that I took as well, because at the end of the day, even when the country opens up, I don't know how open I'll be to going out and being on stage again, right? Because the most gratifying part of being amongst people is not being on stage. I love being on stage. I love getting the energy up, but it's the meet and greets afterwards. Like afterwards, having a table, being able to talk to people, shake some hands, kiss some babies, right? Like that was the most gratifying part for me. And so now, just not understanding the climate and what's happening or whatever, I don't know how open I'm gonna be to doing that. And so I say all that to say is that once I accepted the worst case scenario, I now said to myself, what is my opportunity to pivot? And then based on that opportunity, let me just go. And then that allowed me to go in that direction. And then this leads me to Warren Buffett's number 4, right? And so his 4th step to the habits that you should take in order, if you want to achieve success, is to make your goals smaller. Right? Make your goals smaller. He said, take one small step at a time to help build your confidence, keep you moving forward, and prevent yourself from getting overwhelmed with the what ifs. In other words, don't focus on the top of the mountain. Just focus on the first molehill. So what's your first step, right? And so I like that. I mean, not even like that. I love that as the 4th step, because at the end of the day, and I mean, my whole business has been built on that. Like I even have, in my books, right? So I write, I write books. So this is Taylor's Way: Life Lessons Through the Eyes of a 3-year-old. And if you could see in the back of it, this little sign right here called One Brick Publishing. So One Brick Publishing is my publishing company that I built, right? And One Brick Publishing was literally a company that I built for my books based on Will Smith, right? So Will Smith had a story where he talked about, creating a wall, right? Having this big wall, and his father told him to break down the wall, and in breaking down the wall, his father said, rebuild the wall, right? It took him and his brother a year and a half to rebuild the wall. But when they rebuilt the wall, his father was like, yo, stop focusing on this big wall. I want you to focus on one brick at a time. And so that was poignant for me, because at the end of the day, and that's why I call my company One Brick Publishing, because instead of focusing on, because I want to sell 50 million books, right? Like that's my goal. Like I would love to sell 50 million books. I haven't sold a million yet, just to be clear. But that's my goal. My goal is to sell 50 million books. And so I could focus on oh my God, 50 million books. Yo, I haven't even sold a million yet. Like, how am I get to 50 million? I can focus on that, or I can build it one brick at a time. And that's why I called it One Brick Publishing, because I said to myself that, at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can do to eventually get to that space, right? And so that's why I say that it's important that you make your goals smaller, right? And this is Warren Buffett's number 4, that you make your goals smaller, because as you make your goals smaller, now all you could focus on is what you could do right now. Stop focusing on the what ifs, right? Focus on what you could do right now. What is the absolute thing that you could do right now? And that's where, greatness is made from. Greatness is made one step at a time. You can't skip steps, right? Eric Thomas once said, it takes 20 years to be 20 years old, right? Like if you wanted to be 20 years old, you can't just wake up and say, you know what? Let me visualize being 20. Let me visualize being 20 years old. Let me put 20 years old into my existence. No, right? The truth of the matter is that in order to be 20, you have to go through 20 years of being each year, right? You eventually get to 20 years old. You can't visualize that. And what I'm saying is, that's just an example of time. And I'm not saying that like success does take time, but I'm not saying that there's a specific time. But there are some steps that need to happen. If you take those steps in a year, then fine. If you take them steps in 5 years, then fine. If you take them steps in 20 years, whatever. But success takes time. There's a process that needs to happen. And so you got to just build it one brick at a time, right? Break down your goals. Stop looking at this big thing. If you want to, if you want to make $1 million this year, then break it down. How much do you need to make per month? How much do you need to make per week? How much do you need to make per day? How, what products or services do you sell? And how much of it do you need to do in order to make it? Break it down. You know what I'm saying? Like, break it down to a point where you could just focus on what you could focus on every single day. Right? Like when my wife and I were talking about building this insurance company, the first thing had to happen, right? Like, she had to get a life insurance license. I had to get a life insurance license because I wasn't licensed. You know what I'm saying? So, like, and we have to come up with a marketing plan. We got to come up with a game, right? Like there's a process in it. You can't just wake up and say, hey, I'm going to build $1 million business. And you just wake up and say, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build this $1 million business. No, like, you have to have a plan. And when you have that plan, that gigantic plan, right? Like, yo, I want to sell 50 million books. All right. I have this gigantic plan of selling 50 million books. But what is the mode? Like, what is the operation? Like, how am I going to get to the 50 million books? So, all right, y'all. It's crazy. The time goes fast because I was gonna keep going and going and going. But that is the 4 steps that Warren Buffett talked about. These are powerful mental habits to achieve success. And number 1 is assess all possible outcomes. Number 2 is to think in the positive. Number 3 is to reevaluate your worst case scenario. And number 4, make your goals smaller. And so I love that. And that's why I spent so much time on it today, actually, because I felt like this was a great opportunity to talk about that stuff. I'm going to go 5 more minutes because I just want to talk about some other stories that are in the news. But if you have any questions, so all my Facebook people, my YouTube people, my Twitter people, please put your comments below. My IG people, please. It's going to be hard for me to scroll back up and look at the comments. So please put your questions in the question box so I can pull them up and have that discussion. So let's see. I mean, I think the only other, there's two more articles that I thought was good. One is about the economy and how the economy is going to rebound. And so a lot of economists and people are hoping for V-shape economy rebound. And what the V-shape means is that, you're at a level, you drop low, and then you go back up, to levels that you were before. And that's what we all hope for. That we all hope that we're at this space, the economy goes down, and then we go back up. So that's what a V-shape recovery looks like. But there is also a L shape, and that's what a lot of economists are saying, right? The L shape means that we're going to go down and then it's going to flatten out for a while, meaning that it's going to take some time for the economy to get back together. And so we hope that that's not going to be the case. But when you look at the numbers, when you look at the amount of jobs that are being lost, when you think about how many people are filing for unemployment, when you think about businesses that are probably not going to exist in the way they've existed before in the past, this is, this does look like a L, right? No, pun intended, right? It does look like a L. It does look like, the economy is going to drop and then it's going to stay steady at that drop for a while. And what that means for you is, just build your foundation, right? Build your foundation strong. Make sure that you're following the steps that you should have followed or needed to follow ahead of time, but follow those steps. Follow the steps that say, make sure you have 6 to 8 months of expenses. Make sure that you're not just working for money. Make sure that money works for you. Invest your money in income producing assets. Like, all these rules still apply. Like, they don't go anywhere because the economy is bad. In fact, because the economy is bad, it's more poignant of you to really focus on that space. But again, the good news is, and I said this earlier, the good news is that even with an L-shaped recovery, the good news is that as maybe it turns to a U, right? So it drop L shape and then it goes back up. Maybe it turned to you. I just made that up. I don't even know if there's like really a U-shaped economy, but hopefully that's it. Because at the end of the day, as we start to level out, there are millionaires and billionaires that are made during these times. And I think that if you're diligent in building what you want to build, as these companies start to build, they also are going to need people to help them, and they're going to hire people to help them get to that next level. And that's why, I hope, right? What's better than one billionaire? 1,000 millionaires, right? So I hope that during this time, you, all you listening, you become one of those billionaires or millionaires to be able to provide jobs, because for so long, small business. I mean, this has been the case forever, right? Small business is what stimulates the economy. It's what makes America the greatest country, because of all of the small businesses. You know what I mean? So you gotta go from there. My guy Shabazz Bailey says, if you compare this to 2008, after the 700 billion was put into our economy, right? So like, think about it, right? Think about all the money that is going to be put into the economy. It's just almost like a wealth transfer, right? And so, are you going to be, are you going to be in a position to take care of that wealth transfer? So, all right. So let's see. All right. So yeah. So there's one more story that I want to talk about before I start opening it up for questions. And the one story is just about recovery, right? The auto recovery. I remember that back in 2008, right? Detroit got hit hard, but they also got money for from the taxpayers to save them. But then they didn't really do what was right by the consumers, and so they were giving consumers these bad loans. And so the same thing looks like it's going to happen again, where they're going to need a bailout. But this time we have to do the bailout right. Instead of doing a bailout, just giving them money and then allowing them to still treat consumers the way they want to treat them, they have to do them right, especially because the Trump administration had rolled back a lot of the rules that the Obama administration had put to help secure consumers, right? So they got the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which protects people from being taken advantage of. And so a few of those laws have been passed. And so there's been discrimination in the auto business where, auto dealers are giving people who don't know horrible. So auto loans are horrible to begin with, but without protections, you could really take advantage of people. And then that's what's been happening. And so part of what we're asking and hoping for is that as you bail out the car industry, you also put back the laws that protect people. So and we don't know if that's going to be the case. But if it's not the case, what I want you to do, if you're in the market for a car, the best thing to do is to go in and find your own finances. Do not go in to a car dealership trying to look for financing. Go and find your own financing first, and understand before you sign. Understand what you're getting into. Because a lot of lenders are putting markups on these loans and charging you astronomical amounts of money. And then what happens is, when they charge you these astronomical amount of money, you kind of get stuck in a space where you cannot pay it, and you're in the cycle over and over and over again of recycling your car and not having a car that's just depreciating, and you owe more than it's worth. And then now, you know what I mean? So make sure that if this bailout happens, let's hope that when they do the bailout for the car industry, that they put these certain rules in place. But as it relates to you as the consumer, make sure you're coming in with some of your own finances. All right, I got 20 minutes for question and answer. So if you have any questions, put them in the bottom. Martisha, CFP, my sister in finance, ask, how did you start working on your business while working in banking regarding compliance? That's a great question. And that's why, even though I'm asking people to put their questions in the question box, I saw that question, and I thought it was an important part, because in the words of Drake, ask for forgiveness, not for permission. So the truth of the matter is that when I was working in banking, and this is why I go by Ash Cash, right? So my name is Ash Exantis. And so in the banking world, they knew Ash Exantis, but they didn't know Ash Cash. In fact, there was a lot of people who used the nickname Ash Cash. And so, damn, I wish I had a copy of the book. But my first, when I started my business, I was still working in banking, but I also would write under Ash Cash. And what I realized is the people that I was wanting to reach from a business perspective weren't the people that I was reaching from a business perspective. So I lived in two different worlds. And so when I put on, when I put on my suit and tie and I went into work, I was dealing with a certain set of people. And then when I take off the blazer, loosen up the tie, right? When I took Superman is Alive, when I took that off and went to the community that I was writing my books for and all that stuff, it wasn't the same community. So I could be two people. I could be Ash Exantis and say, hey, and go to the boardroom and be like, welcome, thank you for coming in, and do all that stuff. But then also, yo, you know what I mean? What up, y'all? I could go and be like, yo, what up? You know what I'm saying? It talk that talk. When I was teaching finance, because the goal for me, like I'm a hip hop head, right? So I grew up in the 90s. And then, I was a hip hop head, and all of us who grew up in the 90s, even some in the 80s and the 70s or whatever, we still love hip hop, but we still, we professional, but we still talk that talk. You know what I'm saying? We got homes and we got responsibilities. We want to know about 401ks. We invest, but nobody's talking to that demographic about money. And so that was my aim. And so Martisa, to your point, that's what I did. I asked for forgiveness, not for permission. I was like, you know what? Let me just do it. And so, and that's why I don't think I have it, but maybe I do. My first book, I didn't have my face on the cover. Damn, I wish I had it. I know I have it somewhere, but my first book, I didn't have my face on the cover. It was just I got like mad books around here. That's why I'm trying to like eye it and see if I can find it real quick so I can show y'all. But yeah, my first book didn't have my face on the cover, and so it just said Ash Cash. It said Mind Right, Money Right, 10 Laws of Financial Freedom. And then I was selling that book, selling it, and I was kind of living a double life until I quit. And so it took me about a year and a half where I wound up quitting. I wound up quitting, and then when I quit, I then revised it. So if you see that cover right there in the back, I'm pointing to it right there. That's a revised edition, and that's when I put my face on the cover. And so to your point, Martisa, there's compliance, there's all this other stuff that you can and can't do, you can and can't say. And honestly, that's the reason for a long time I didn't get into investing. I didn't get into like giving investment advice and stuff like that, because I didn't want anybody to like tell me what I can and can't do. And so that's why even as I get back into like life insurance, I am studying for my CFP, so I'm gonna get that, but it's still not product based. I still want to make sure I can say whatever I want to say without having or without needing permission. You know what I'm saying? So that's a great question. All right. So we got She Loves Good Things on Instagram. And so if you have any questions, please put them in the comment box, or comment below on Facebook. But She Loves Good Things says, you mentioned people should start job. Can you share what kind of jobs should people start? Would you advise? Let me just see. Would you advise? I got to move in to see. Would you advise government workers, employees to quit? I can't see the rest of that. Oh man, I'm sorry. I need a sturdier thing. I can't see the rest of that. I can't see the rest. So it says, well, you mentioned people should start jobs. Can you share what kind of jobs people should start? Would you advise government workers to quit? Um, yeah, no. I don't think anybody should be quitting jobs right now. I don't think anybody should be quitting jobs right now. I think that we're at a place where if you have a job, you should be grateful for your job. In fact, your job is your first investor, and so don't. There's two quotes I'm gonna say. Right, number one is don't cut your nose to spite your face, right? But then also don't what is it? What Jay said? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Meaning that if the baby's the gift, and then as you're cleaning the baby gets dirty. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like if you got a government job, right? A government job which gives you some level of security, your job is your first investor. So I would not quit. What I would do is, and I made this mistake. And that's not a mistake because I learned from it. So let me take that back. It's not a mistake, but I remember when I left banking, I quit cold turkey without having other things set up. And I almost went through foreclosure. I almost, like threw the whole thing away because I was trying to be fancy, throwing myself a retirement party and thinking I was, all that because I was on Hot 97 and all these, major news outlets, But I had to realize that at the end of the day, it's not about me. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, it's not about me. At the end of the day, I need to be smarter. And so I wind up getting to a position where, you shouldn't just quit your job. You should have a plan. And if your job is paying you, you can actually use some of the money from your job to actually start your business. But to your question about what type of jobs that you should start, I think anything that you're passionate about, honestly, right? Anything that you're passionate about, anything that aligns your gifts and who you are with what people need is what business you should start. And the truth of the matter is that as you do that and you get busier and busier, you'll then start to need to build a team. So I'll give you a prime example even with myself. So like right now, I started doing these, right? So I do a daily show Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. And I am, doing this. I started doing it by myself on my own. But then I needed help. Right. So I needed to hire somebody. So I hired somebody. Shout out to my guy, Sean Goody. So I hired Sean, who does my graphics. So if IG, you don't see this, but if you go to ashcashtv.com, you're going to see that I actually have a ticker symbol. I think I could show you on, I could show you, on IG, right? So like, right. So my IG people, like what you know what I'm saying? What you see is, only me, right? But on the background, right, I got the, what I'm saying? You see that I got the mic going. You know what I mean? So like what you see is just me, right? But the truth of the matter is that I have a whole production going on, right? And so with this whole production that's going on, I couldn't do this by myself. So I hired my guy Sean, who's helping with the graphics, right? Who's breaking down the videos for me, who's making sure that those numbers, right? So if you look at those numbers are up to date. And so every day those numbers have to be updated. And so eventually, right? So I'm interviewing producers right now, right? Because, I wake up 4 a.m. And then when I wake up 4 a.m, I then have to look through the news. I got to figure out what's what, you know what I mean? And so now, I want to hire a producer to help, produce the show. I want to hire, a news writer to help, write some of the content so it could flow a little better. We then are going to take the content, and put the content, online. As a podcast, provide bonus material. So I want to start interviewing people, and once I interview people, I put that as a bonus in the podcast to get people who are watching to eventually, find the bonus material. Then after I do that, I'm going to start doing advertising. So if you have a small business, if you're a corporation or whatever, I'll start doing advertising. So when you think about this, honestly, what I'm doing does not exist, right? There isn't a financial news outlet that is specifically talking to us, right? And I am building that. And so one brick at a time. I'm starting it small. I'm starting it slow. But as it gets bigger and bigger, I promise you, there are going to be jobs, right? There are going to be jobs that are created from this. And so far, I just told you about 3 jobs, right? So I have somebody who from a video perspective, who's helping out, a producer, a news writer. That's 3 jobs. But then think about as it gets bigger and bigger, where the country opens up, and can I get news correspondents, right? Can I get people to be man on the street and ask questions? And can I, and then as it gets bigger and bigger, can I move it from my home, or my home studio, right? I'm home right now. Can I move this from home and eventually get a big studio? Like when you think about like Dave Ramsey, right? Can I get a real studio? Not because this is a real studio, but can I get a studio that's like fully made for that, right? Could I get can I create a phone line systems where people could call in, like all these productions? Like why can't this be built into sort of like a CNN? So my point is, and I didn't mean to belabor the question, but my point is that yes, you start with something you're passionate about, and as you start with what you're passionate about, you create the jobs from there, and then it gets bigger and bigger, right? Think about advertising, think about sales reps, think about things that could be started from this. So that's a great question. All right, next question we have, and so if you have any questions, please put them in the question box. Please put them in the question box, and I will answer them. And if you're on Facebook, please put them in a comment, and I'll answer them. LaChina B says, I am LaChina B says, how do you create a successful press release for a new book if you've never appeared on big media platforms? That's a great question. And so the press release is not about the platform, because you don't really talk about your platform in the press release, right? And so if you're writing a book, and you want to have a press release, the press release is actually what puts you on big media platforms, right? Because the press release is finding a silver lining in your book and what you provide from a book perspective, and then making the media interested in that topic. So I'll give you a prime example. I didn't do a press release yet, but I will. But let's say, so I have a new book coming out called The Great Financial Reset, right? And A Great Financial Reset is a book that gives you 5 ways to overcome, survive, and thrive in any financial crisis. The reason why I haven't done a press release yet is because I need to know, or I want to know, not need to know, I want to know, I want to get a better sense of when it's going to end, so I could talk in more definite terms, like, oh, the economy looks like this, but do these things, right? My 5 things are going to work, but I want to put like real life examples in it. And so that's why I haven't done a press release yet, right? I'm going to write a press release, but my press release wouldn't. So far I've been on the Steve Harvey show talking about the book. I've been on Sway in the Morning talking about the book. I've been on major media outlets talking about the book. But when I write my press release, I'm not going to say as heard on the Steve Harvey show or heard on Sway in the Morning. I'm not going to say that, because the point isn't that, right? Because a press release, think about what the words say, LaChina. Press release. You're releasing this to the press. You're telling the press, yo, this is what I have. And so what you do is you write it in a way that gets people interested. So you say, hey, best-selling author releases, best-selling author and financial educator releases a book that talks about how to bounce back financially during this pandemic. And so literally, right? That is the headline. And so if Fox News, if NBC, if The Breakfast Club, whoever, like they sift through the press, right? The same way I wake up in the morning and I look online to see, what news is worth talking about on my show. That's the same thing they do. They comb through articles, they comb through stuff as well. You know what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, as they're combing through stuff, and they might see LaChina, and they might be like, yo, LaChina has a book on fill in the blank, right? And so as they look at it and they say, yo, LaChina have this book on, fill in the blank, then they'll say, oh, you know what? Let me look her up. And that's why, LaChina, you're part of my course, right? And so think about it. Like, that's why you think about in the course, right? So I have a course called Mind Right, where I teach people how to write books and make money from it, right? And LaChina is one of my students in there. And when you think about the way the workbook is broken down, think about why I don't talk about press till after, because you got to be prepared for press, right? Press don't just come to you. You have to be prepared for press. If you're not prepared for press, it's not going to work, right? The reason why, I'll give you an example. I was recently on Sway in the Morning, right? And during Sway in the Morning, Sway was like talking about entrepreneurs and being hustlers or whatever the case may be. And he was like, yeah, Ash, back in the day, you used to sell mixtapes and CD. No matter of fact, Heather B had made this joke. Heather B was like, Sway did this intro, and the intro was so dope, right? And introing me. And then once he did the intro, he also, Heather B was like, yo, you need to put that on your mixtape. And so I started talking about it or whatever, and then Sway was like, yo, you should definitely put that on your mixtape, but yo, you don't even know Ash used to sell mixtapes. How did he know that? I didn't tell him that. It's because he researched. He went to my website, and my website has my whole story, right? And so LaChina, and I'm running out of minutes on IG, so I might come back. But what happens is that, it is you got to be press ready. So you have to build your websites, you have to build stories, you have to build your bio, so that when you put out your press release and somebody says, yo, who is LaChina B? And they Google your name, or they look at your website, or they look at whatever, they now can see, what's what, who's who, and then they invite you. Like, people invite me to press, not because like I'm the best person that did it, because it's other people who are probably smarter than me. Probably not. Let me not say that. But no, I'm joking. But there are probably other people that are qualified also that they could bring onto their platforms. But because I have a succinct story, I could definitely, people are ready to bring me on. All right, IG. It's 8:59. I got 42 seconds left before they cut me off, so I'm gonna end this live. I might come back as an extra bonus, but ask your questions when we come back. Let me make sure that I let's see. Let me save that. All right, so I'm gonna go to Facebook. If you have any questions, make sure you are putting them down below, so I can help answer them. I have Michelle Major. Michelle Major says, hold on for 1 second. Let me just restart my live. Let me restart my live. All right, bet. All right, welcome back. So I got Michelle Major on Facebook that says, Ash, I have a 20-year-old that has high ambitions, but he is all over the place. How do I get him to focus on one thing at a time? It's the plan. And that's a great question, Michelle. And so everything starts with a plan. So I would encourage you to sit down with him, and to really go over all of his plans. All right. So what is it that you want to accomplish, right? What are those goals that you want to accomplish, and break down each and every one of those goals into tangible steps. The reason why that's important, the reason why people are all over the place, is because they don't have clear direction. That's it, right? Think about somebody who wanders. Somebody who wanders does not have clear direction. So if they had clear direction, if they knew which direction they were going, then they wouldn't take detours, right? Like think about, and Michelle, I'll use this as an example, right? Think about it. If you get in your car and you put your destination in the GPS system, right? There's no way that the GPS system is going to tell you to turn left and you don't turn left. Right? There's no way that the GPS system tells you to turn right and you don't turn right, because you've already told the GPS system. You already said, yo, this is where I want to go. And so the GPS system knows the route to get there, and it's going to tell you how to get there. And so what happens is that a lot of times when people are wandering, is because they either don't have clear direction, and if they do have clear direction, they don't trust the direction that they're taking, right? Because that happens too. You might put you might put your directions into the GPS system, and then it tells you to turn right, and you're like, "Why gotta turn right when I should be doing going this way?" And then now you get yourself lost or get yourself stuck in traffic because you didn't follow that direction. And so what I would say to your 20-year-old Michelle is that make sure you're writing down all of the goals that you want to accomplish, and then writing down all those goals that you want to accomplish. What are the steps that it's going to take for you to get to those goals, and really assess, what I talked earlier about breaking down your goals into small steps. Now put all of those goals into small steps, and can you realistically do everything it takes to get to that one step? You know what I'm saying? Or can you do one step of different things, or can you be in a position where you focus at one thing at a time? I believe, and Oprah said this as a quote, you can have it all, but just not all at once. So I believe that, yes, you could be in a position where you have all these multiple things that you're working on, but even as you're working on those multiple things, you have to focus at one thing at a time. And then once you focus at one thing at a time, then you could begin to start to delegate the things that you don't have to do, and then move on to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Virtual assistants are really, really dope. And so to your 20-year-old, I would definitely say, hey, have him focus on this one thing, get good at that one thing, focus on that one thing, and then if there are other things that he needs to focus on or he wants to focus on, then he pivots. I've also realized too that a lot of times when you do start to focus on that one thing, and that one thing starts to pick up, you start to realize that, man, I don't even got time for other things. You know what I'm saying? And so what happens too is that when people are focused on so many things, that's because they haven't tasted success yet. Like I know what it takes to be successful, and it's hard. It's hard to be successful at more than one thing at the same time, unless you're delegating, unless you got a team helping you. It's really difficult for you to be successful at more than one thing. You could get some success, so some success is different from success. Let me just be clear, right? Like if you put a product or service out and people start buying it, then you had some success. But to be successful, you have to meet those marks. You have to meet the numbers that you set forth for yourself. So you might say, yo, I want to sell 100,000 books. Okay, if you sold 1,000 books in a day, that's a great day. But did you sell your 100,000, right? So you had some success. So what I'm saying is that the moment you pivot away from your some success to focus on something else, you take away from the ability to have the massive success that you should have. I was at a conference last year in October, I think. And in the conference, it was Stedman, right? Oprah's partner, Stedman. And Stedman was giving an example that a lot of people pivot, right? Like people get some success and then they automatically already thinking about what should they do next. No, you just had success. Why you think about what you're doing next? Why don't you do more of what got you successful, right? Like you sold 1,000 books. Why not? Why write another book? No, that's different. Let me not say that, because I write more books only because I have a fan base that wants other content from me. So that's a bad example. But let's say you sold 1,000 books doing this thing. Why not do more of that thing? Right? Why not get to a space where you're doing more of what got you successful? Like why pivot so fast if you've gotten success? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what I would say. That's what I would say. All right, what questions y'all got? Because I'm 6 minutes over, which is fine. But let's see what questions. If y'all don't have any questions, I'll definitely sign off, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. But also make sure y'all go to mindrightmoney.com, because I'll post this show on there. I'll also post other stories that I didn't get to on there. So make sure y'all go to mindrightmoney.com so you can see all of the top stories that we talk about for the day. Make sure you tune in Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. To 9 a.m. Michelle, thank you so much. I let him hear your answers. No, my pleasure, my pleasure. And also have him reach out if you want too, because I was once a 20-year-old. I started my baking career at 19. So I was once a 20-year-old that had a lot of ambition and a lot of things that I wanted to do. And so definitely, connect with me, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, email info@mindrightmoney.com. But it's my pleasure. But yeah. So yeah, make sure you tune in to the Ash Cash Show every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. If you are on Instagram and you want to see the live, make sure y'all subscribe to my YouTube. Please subscribe to my YouTube. I have like 500 people on my YouTube. I need thousands. Like I need y'all help. You know what I'm saying? And so I need you to go to ashcashtv.com. So everybody go to ashcashtv.com and subscribe to my YouTube. Oh yeah, Eastern time, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for my West Coast people, that is 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. for you. And then Blue Soldier. So Blue Soldier has a question. Let me answer some more questions. I got a little bit of more time. Did you start your business with a team or by yourself and built a team after? Yes, it's the former. So I started my business it's the latter actually, not the former. I started my business by myself and built a team afterwards because I always talk about the Lean Startup. The Lean Startup is a book that I think everybody should read because it talks about how to start a business. And the best way to start a business is to start with a minimal viable product, which means that before you start building like overhead and paying people and things of that nature, you want to make sure that there's a capacity that people want what you actually offer. And so you want to start what I would say, you want to start as lean as possible. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I started out lean. I started out, just one person. And just hired, like I had independent contractors, like I hired a graphic designer. If I needed, services, I would just hire those services out. But then eventually as your business starts to grow, you're going to just need more help. You know what I'm saying? So, and so my team right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 of us, and so I have a pretty lean team still. But I suspect that as things get bigger and busier, that the team is going to have to grow, because I'll give you an example. Like I have no sales reps, but I have tons of stuff that I sell. So I'm the main marketer. Like I market my products and services. Make sure you go to shop.mindrightmoney.com, get some books, get some planners, right? So I'm the main marketer. So I market my stuff to my audience. And so I'm the main person that does that. But imagine if I had a sales team, right? Like Grant Cardone has a sales team. So don't think that he's all over the place because he doesn't have a sales team. Like most successful people that their name is because they have a sales team. They have a team of people who make phone calls on their behalf. Like I'm putting together my Mind Right. I'm revamping my Mind Right Legacy Builders program, which is that program that you see right there, right? It's it's like a Dave Ramsey program, but I'm revamping that program. And I want to target churches. I want to target nonprofit organizations. I want to, all these partners. I can't do that by myself. I'm going to need like a sales team, a team of people to go out and do that. And as I get those sales people, they're going to now bring in money for themselves and their family. They're going to bring more money into the company, whatever. And then that's how, the business gets built, and so again, to your question, Blue Soldier, is yes, I started out by myself and then I built the team afterwards, and I don't think that stops. I think that the more successful you get, the more people you should be hiring to help build your business, if you want to get to that next level in your business too, because some people might have a level of success and be good and just stick to that level of success. But if you're good with that, that's fine. Not everybody has the capacity to run a team. That's another thing as well. Is that not everybody has the capacity to build a team. It takes the leadership skills actually, right? You have to be a leader to build a team. And so just make sure you have the capacity, make sure that's something that you want to do. Some people, I know people who are solopreneurs and they're okay with it. Like, yo, I'm a solopreneur. I wake up, I do my business, I make my money, and I take care of my family, and that's it. I'm good. I don't want to go bigger than that. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine. And I'll be honest, I ain't gonna see it in a lie. At one point, that was me. Like, at one point, I was okay being a solopreneur. At one point, I was like, yo, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was a bank manager for years, and I had like double-digit team members. I've done that before, and it's it's a lot. Like, it ain't for the faint of heart. Like, it's a lot to manage a team of people. You know what I'm saying? Especially a team of people, different ambitions, different personalities. It's a lot to kind of get that to do it. So you have to make a decision on whether you want to do it, and if you do want to do it, then how do you build it in the most effective way? Do you build it and have employees, or do you build it and have 1099 independent contractors? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a determining factor as well. Again, even for me right now, like even as I build a team, I'm not hiring, like I'm not W2ing anybody. I will hire independent contractors. You know what I'm saying? Because the reason why too is that I don't want employees. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody I do business with, I want them to be a business partner. Right? I want them to partner with me. You know what I'm saying? And so as they are a business partner, they could, build their own business within what I'm building. You know what I'm saying? Opposed to being my employee, and if my stuff, if I decide to close, let's say I hire all these people and I decide to close my business, now, they are stuck. They're relying on me. I don't really like that model. I don't like the model for myself. Like, I don't like working for people, because I don't like I don't like to put the onus of, not even the onus, because onus is like responsibility. So not even the responsibility. I don't want someone else to be able to dictate whether me and my family eat. I don't really like that, and so because I don't like that, I can't see myself working for somebody. I can work with somebody, and I have, and I do, but it can't be the majority of my income. And if it is, I'm gonna work towards changing that balance. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to be in control of my financial destination and my financial destiny. And so if I don't like it, I wouldn't put people in that position. I never want to put anybody in a position where they have to work for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you're in a position where you have to work for me. If I decided to take a vacation and you're not making no money, no, I want us to work together. Right. And so if whatever you're doing for me, I want you to be able to do for other people as well. I want you to take on other people as clients. You know what I'm saying? Or if whatever you're building, I want you to build it where you can stand on your own too. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? If everybody in your crew is rich, your crew is rugged, right? Nobody will fall, because everybody be each other's crutches, and I believe that. So, all right, great question, Blue Collar. Let's see. If you have a mutual whole life insurance policy, what's the process for accessing 500? Man, that's like November Sunshine is asking like specific, right? If you have a mutual whole life insurance policy, what's the process of assessing or accessing 500,000 in dividends? And so, November Sunshine, what I would say for you is to reach out to your agent that sold you the policy, and really speak to them about that specific question. And the reason why I'm saying that is that even as somebody that's in the life insurance business, it will be important to know what every life insurance company has different rules, as it relates to how to access money. They have different stipulations, things of that nature. And so just make sure you contact your agent just to make sure you understand what are the stipulations that company has said. So I appreciate the question, but I'm not going to be able to answer that, only because it's specific to your your life insurance contract, right? Because it's a contract. So I think in your contract, it'll tell you what the stipulations are and how do you get to that level. I appreciate the question. All right, y'all. I will definitely do that before I get the policy. Oh, okay. So you're about to get the policy. Okay, so that's good. That's good. So I mean, if you don't have an agent, holla at me because, like I said, I have a life insurance business. So if you're interested in that November sunshine, shoot me a DM so we can set up a time to talk, and I could answer that question. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought you had the contract already, but yeah. But if you're looking for life insurance, then shoot me a DM and I could do that. Let's see. All right. Isn't it harder to have employees anyway unless you want a corporate structure and model? Yeah. So Singled Out Loud says, isn't it harder to have employees anyway unless you want a corporate structure and model? Yeah, no, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it is more difficult to have employees. And so that's why I think it's better to hire people as like independent contractors and stuff like that. All right, y'all. 9:18. I went 18 minutes over time, which is fine. Definitely go to mindrightmoney.com. I'm gonna be posting most of the news there. Make sure you go to ashcashtv.com. Subscribe to me on YouTube so you can see the videos live and the chop ups and things of that nature. Go to shop.mindrightmoney.com. So that way you could support my books, support the planners and e-guides, but not just only support. I promise you, I'm giving away $1 million worth of game. And so if you look at the if you look at like my track record, you know what I'm saying? Like I definitely give out a lot of information. So please go there. All right. Do you have an external speaker for that mic? No, 'cause I don't need to hear myself. So what I do is with the mic, this is what I'm having streamed to Facebook, YouTube, and all that stuff, and then I just listen to my Facebook just to see the volume. So I don't really need speakers for it. Sherrod Bates on Facebook says, "Can you cover day trading sometime this week?" All right, I'll do that. I'll cover day trading. I'll take a look at it and cover it. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will see y'all tomorrow, same time, same place. I appreciate y'all. Peace.